All right, let's have a look. Here's some motorcycle chain secrets you may want to know. First up, chains and sprockets can bite, so keep your digits out of those pinch points. That's a good one to remember. Now generally, there's two different flavors of motorcycle chains. There's ones like this, which is a non-O-ring standard style, and there's ones like this, which are an O-ring style. Now neither one is really better than the other. They both have pros and cons. It just depends on what bike you're putting it on, how much money you want to spend, and how much maintenance you're willing to do. And that's pretty much it. Okay, just a quick word on the pros and cons of these chains. When you're dealing with a sealed chain or an O-ring, X-ring, Y-ring, any sort of alphabetical variation of that, they're great chains. They don't require a whole lot of maintenance. They'll last a long time if you're a little bit lazy. On the downside of things, they're kind of expensive. With the added O-rings, the frictional losses in these things, they're kind of stiff, so they do require a little bit of horsepower just to overcome the frictional losses to move these things. And that's why most race bikes don't use these. And the fact here that you have a seal, you might think, okay, well, it's sealed between the plate and the pin, so it's maintenance free. Well, it's not, because especially if you like to use a pressure washer, you're gonna get grit and water in behind there no matter what. Once it's in there, good luck, you're not getting it out. And right here between the roller and the sleeve, there's no seal there. So you're getting water in there no matter what. You still have to lube and clean these things, just not as routinely. You can be a little lazy, like I said, but they're great chains. And they have their place. When you compare it to a non-O-ring or an unsealed chain, these are fairly cheap. They're very supple, so they don't require as much horsepower to overcome any frictional losses. The downside is you better be up on your maintenance. You need to clean and lube these things routinely, or you are not getting any sort of longevity, and that's just how it is. All right? When you take a look at the basic anatomy of a chain, they can look pretty simple, but trust me, there's a lot of nifty little details that are well worth knowing. Check it out. Look how many parts it takes to make up one single inner link on a sealed chain like this one. You got 2 rollers, 2 sleeves, 2 rivets, 2 plates, 4 seals. That's a lot of parts, especially if you can imagine how many you need over the whole length of chain on your bike. Do the math. 12 parts times 100 links or so, that's got to be like probably a couple million parts. No wonder these things are so expensive. Whew. Since we're talking numbers, you may have noticed on the side of your chain there could be 3 digits stamped on the side plates. Usually it's something like 520, maybe 525, 420, could even be a 600 series. And as you can see, chains come in all different sizes, and that's what that number represents. It's how to determine how big your chain is. And it's just not random numbers, it's all based around 1/8 of an inch. Chains are not metric, they're measured in imperial. And it's all, like I say, centered around 1/8 of an inch. So here's how that works. Let's use this chain here as an example. The distance between the rivets is the pitch of the chain, and that's the first number in the sequence. In this case, there are 5/8 of an inch between the rivets, so 5 it is. The next number is represented is the minimum gap between the links. They're also expressed in 1/8 of an inch. In this case, there are 2.08 of an inch, so 20. You put them together, you got a 520 or a 520 chain. So you may be wondering, how do you get that third number on a 525 chain? Where's that last 5 come from? Well, it starts out the same. You measure it between the rivets, which is the pitch of the chain. In this case, same as before, works out to 5/8. So the first number in this case is a 5. Now the second number, same deal. You just measure the minimum gap between the inner plates. When we check it, this time it's actually 5/16. And because chains are measured in eighths, a 16th is a half of an eighth. So that's 2.58. So drop the decimal, you got a 525. That's it. 525 chain. That's how it shakes out. Now you know. All right, pop quiz. You were paying attention, right? All right, let's see what kind of numbers we get on this chain. First up, the pitch, that measures in at 3/4 of an inch. And the minimum gap, 3/8 of an inch. So what number chain would this be? Come on, you got this. I'll put the answer up at the end of the video, so stick around and see if you're right. Here's a few key factors to look out for that indicate you may need a new chain and a couple of sprockets. If it looks like this, all frozen and stiff with more kinks than an old garden hose, you're gonna need a new chain. If your chain has so much side slop that it wiggles like a snake, or so much end-to-end play that it reminds you of your kid's slinky, you're gonna need a new chain. Hey, if the grinding and the clatter sound of the rolling chain on your bike is louder than the engine, you're gonna need a new chain. But don't forget the sprockets, because they go hand in hand. If you have a manky chain, you probably have manky sprockets, and they might end up looking sort of like these ones. Are you kidding me? These are perfect examples of things you never want to see on your bike, ever. Stuff just like this. This is the first phase. You can see sprocket teeth starting to pull over, and the edges of the metal starting to fold over. Next up, they get a little worse, and you can see where the teeth are starting to actually fold over top. and it's pretty obvious the cradle is gone and the teeth are starting to sharpen up. And that's as a result of pretty much having a loose chain, whacking the throttle and having that thing just hit all the time and pull those teeth over. Then you get to the stage where the teeth now start to fold over and disappear because the chain starts skipping, and it does that. Now they're just getting rounded. The sharpness is gone and they're just getting round. And it just continues. If you don't stop it, it gets to be something like that. Again, more slipping. Now, I don't know how you miss this. This would sound awful and it would feel weird. And how can you just miss it? Then you finally get to this stage where you get this. And I know this looks like a disc brake, but this is actually a sprocket. At one time, you can see here it says 45 teeth. Look at that. It was a 530 sprocket with 45 teeth. You kidding me? This thing had 45 teeth. Look at it. Like, how do you get to this point? All that would do is just make noise. You wouldn't be going anywhere. It would just make a bunch of noise. I mean, you look at this thing. It looks like the gums on a toothless hobo. It's just little nubs. So yeah, you get to that point. I don't know. And the front sprocket, well, same thing happens. You can see here, same things occur. The cradle starts to open up, deforms to that, and you start getting these huge points. And when you get the roller trying to mesh with that, like look at the slop. Look at the slop there. There's got to be, that's like a quarter-inch of slop. How do you miss that? How do you not feel that as you're driving down the road? I mean, that thing's lethal. Look at the sharpness of those points. You could use this as a throwing star. That thing would bring down a moose. I'll bet you that would stick into that wall. Look, it's stuck right in. And then eventually they just break off. Like, look at this. There's got to be, what, 1, 2, 3 teeth left? I mean, it looks like Bobby Clark's smile. So, yeah. So you get the idea. You've seen enough carnage. Don't let it get to this point. And if you do, come on, man, get your game on. All right, move on. So the main takeaway from all of this is, if you can select the right chain and sprockets for you and your bike, with a little bit of routine maintenance, a watchful eye, some common sense, there's a pretty good chance you'll be able to spot problems long before they become catastrophic. And that's a good thing. Could end up saving you a lot of grief and a lot of money. All right, I got stuff to do. See ya. Ah, still here, eh? All right, I'm guessing you stuck around for the answer to the pop quiz. So let's have a look. So that chain had a pitch of 3/4 of an inch, and 3/4 of an inch is 6/8. So the first number is a 6. And then it had a minimum gap of 3/8, and that's just 3.08. So you drop that decimal, put it with the 6, and you got a 630. So the chain is a 630 chain. Well done. I knew you could do it. All right, hey, I got stuff to do. See ya.